Hi, I'm Virginie Lakins from Roland-designs, and today I want to talk about how to keep track of your stitching on your chart. Recently I've gotten a couple of emails from customers who are wondering if my charts were compatible with Pattern Keeper. I don't have a tablet or an iPad, so I don't really know exactly how the app works, but from what I understand it's an app, and you import your PDF pattern, and it helps you keep track of it and helps you with knowing where you are and what color to use, and it sounds like a wonderful tool for stitching. But unfortunately my patterns as of today are not compatible with Pattern Keeper for the simple reason that it still is an app under development and they only support whole stitches, and many of my patterns have backstitch, specialty stitches, petit point, different types of stitches, and it would just not work on the app. And it also requires having to change the formats of my files, and until the app is actually fully functional or a different app comes up that actually serves all the purposes, I will not be investing time in this as of today. It could change very soon if an app came out that supported all the different types of stitches that I use in my charts. But I wanted to show you how I personally stitch. Now I'm a little old-fashioned, I do like paper, so when I do a pattern myself, I usually print it, and as you can see here, I use the chart, fold it, or here I have the key, and I've changed some of the colors because maybe I used colors I already had or didn't like the color. Also with a paper you can also write small notes to yourself, or if you, for example, want to change something, I really encourage you to change patterns. Make it personal. It's your own stitching, you can follow the pattern as much as you want, or perfectly if you like, but it's also fun to add a personal touch. So for example, you can change something, and with a paper and pen you can actually just add it directly on the chart, and there you have your own personalized version of it. All this you cannot do in an app. I recently finished, or almost finished, a very large sampler. I have a big frame I work on, and I found at the bottom of the box my first pattern. When I started it, I had scotch taped together the chart, and when I used it, I fold it and I bend it, and I have this big frame so I can fold the paper like this, I can pin it for the close peg if I want to, I can keep track of it. This is the way I stitch. Maybe it looks a little messy, it's not as neat as having an app, but I really do like the feel of paper, and I do like to feel like I'm not watching a screen when I'm stitching. And if you enjoy it and if it works better for you, then of course go ahead and use the modern digital tools. And I'm actually curious of how many people use digital tools, for example their phone, their tablet, their computer, when stitching. So do mention it in the comments, and let us know what you prefer for keeping tracks of your stitching, because that is actually quite interesting, since things are changing and evolving, and there's new developments all the time, and of course as a designer I need to keep up with the latest. And I might not be the only one, but for me this is the ideal for keeping track. Just mark off what you've done, or a pen or a pencil, and if I make a mistake I can just chuck it and I can print a new copy. So this is a little bit the way I've been stitching, and I'm not about to get an iPad anytime soon, but I'm open to it. When the time comes, maybe I'll be more ready to use more digital tools. And what's interesting is I found in my boxes this old antique pattern, and I noticed that the stitcher had at one point parked a needle on the side, just like I do on my pattern. Sometimes I have on my paper patterns a bunch of needles. So this was probably over 100 and something years ago, and this is my parking my needles recently. So stitchers have been finding techniques and ways to keep track, to not lose their needles, and I think some of the ways, like parking it on your pattern, hasn't changed in hundreds of years. And while we're talking about patterns, I also sometimes get messages from customers who wonder if I could send them the PDF in a different format, all from a large photo file to just symbols, to just changing the photo files to a different photo format. And I try to be as helpful as possible and accommodate you, and I understand that people have different needs. But unfortunately, only recent patterns can be adapted, because when I started Roland-designs in 2008, I used a software that does not exist anymore. And I've been through several computers, and every time there's an upgrade, the patterns change, or the software changed a little bit, the quality changes, and they're not always compatible with the newer version. So what I've done is I've started to put for free on my website the older patterns, because I do understand there are maybe of lesser quality, often they're a little smaller. I try to make my patterns a little larger now, so they're easier to see. It does depend also on the quality of your printer. If you don't have a good quality printer and your pattern doesn't print properly, print it at your local library, at your workplace, or ask someone that has a better quality home printer, because patterns often have a lot of lines and details, and it can be weak or not so clear if you use a lower quality printer. So just ask around. There are plenty of places to get copies done professionally with a higher definition, and then you have a good quality pattern to work from. Patterns that are probably about 10 years old, I can still change and adapt if you need, but anything before that, I will just have to apologize and say I won't be able to adapt those patterns or change them for you. And I hope you understand. In time, maybe I will be able to re-digitalize them again, but it is time consuming. So I have no plans in doing so in the near future. I hope this helps to explain a little bit, and do feel free to write in the comments and let me know if you have any questions or any suggestions, or also just chat about what you do to keep track of your stitching. It's always interesting, and maybe it'll give you some ideas.